Bitcoin just surpassed $116,000 as we kick off the new week. October is now officially green. In today's video, we'll be talking about exactly this, going over the recent Bitcoin price action, what I think could be happening to the market, and why did we get this pumpage. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Just quickly taking a look at our Bitcoin chart as we normally do, you can see that this pump was within our expectations. Now, if you've been following the channel, I was more bullish than most when we had this massive liquidation event. My base case is that we would likely fill most of the wick, which you can see we did. However, I did not anticipate us going lower, and we didn't. We ended up making some very nice higher lows, and as soon as this structure started showing itself to us, I was pretty confident we would be getting another pump. We got rejected at the 112K key level several times. However, Bitcoin was simply not giving up. And as we know, the more times that you test a level, the more likely it is that we break through. You can see here that we are now at $115,000 as I'm recording this video, and we actually wicked all the way up to around 116.4K, depending on which exchange you're looking at. All of our trades are currently in some significant profits. You can see here that on Bluffin, I do have my Bitcoin long open, which we entered at around 107.2K. I was pretty confident we would get a move based on this double bottom over here, and you can see that right now we are sitting just over $24,000 in profit. I was still longing Bitcoin dominance. This one you guys are probably tired of me talking about, but I think it's a good position to maintain. And most importantly, you can see that Ethereum is now sitting just around $66,000 in profit. Now, I was really expecting Ethereum to move up from here. Obviously, Bitcoin determines the rest of the market, but based on what we were seeing on the charts, I was expecting Bitcoin to continue to move higher out of here. Now, something that's interesting, which I just shared in my free premium group, what do you notice here? I am actually shorting Bitcoin. Now, to be perfectly clear, I am net long in this market. I think that Bitcoin will likely make a new all-time high, and I'm pretty confident that Ethereum will also be making a new all-time high. However, based on where Bitcoin is currently at, it was a solid risk to reward short setup in terms of a scalp. So I shared this within the free premium group, and right now you can see that we targeted this zone. So there's a pretty big cluster over here as well as over here, and so I was expecting us to grab some of that upside liquidity, and you can see that more and more longs were also starting to pile into the market. So to be perfectly clear, while I do think Bitcoin moves higher out of here, and I also think that Ethereum makes a brand new all-time high, this was a pretty solid scalp in my opinion. Just a reminder, all of these trades were shared in my free premium group. These trades are essentially how I am personally operating in this market. I don't post trades every single day. I only post the trades that I am personally taking. And when I do, so far our success rate has been absolutely phenomenal over the past few months since I've started this group. That is the first link in my description down below. If that interests you, all you have to do is click this link and DM me the word premium, and I would be happy to onboard you in my free premium group. Just a reminder though, the only requirement is to sign up with one of my affiliate exchange links, which you can find them all in the descriptions down below. You sign up to there, you start trading as you normally would with your capital, and you have access to my free premium group. Now, what is next for Bitcoin? Because we made it all the way up to 116.4K. I'm still anticipating us to move higher out of here. And actually, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the bottom is in. I don't think that Bitcoin will be revisiting sub 100K levels at this point in time. Now, if it does happen, I do think it would be a max bidding area. This has been the nature of my videos thus far since we had that liquidation event. If we were to move lower, it would be a max bid. That being said, the market doesn't always give us what we want in terms of perfect entries. That's why I was already positioned before Bitcoin made this massive move to the upside. Now, I am expecting us to move higher out of here, but there are some things that we need to consider. One of those things being the CME gap. Look, this CME gap is massive. Now we need to go all the way down to sub $111,000 to go ahead and fill that CME gap. And so it would not surprise me if we manage to do this. If you zoom out here, you need to understand that everything is ultimately looking very, very positive. If you remember why this was our key confluence zone, it was the 112K all-time high, it was the bull market support band, it was the anchored VWAP, and we had to get past the value area low to maintain this structure. And this is exactly what happened. We are above all of those levels, and it is ultimately extremely positive to see Bitcoin back above its own bull market support band. In my opinion, it would be a good opportunity if we were to come back down, tap into the bull market support band, continue to maintain that support, and then get a spring off of it. The reason why this would be so perfect if we manage to get it is because it would fill the CME gap and it would confirm support above the bull market support band. Confirmation at this level is absolutely crucial. So on any pullbacks, you want to see Bitcoin hold this level. If we start to lose 112, at that point, I would start to get a little bit concerned. That being said, so far so good, things are looking relatively solid here. And so, same thing with Ethereum, but I told you that Ethereum was more interesting to me because we were above its own bull market support band, as Bitcoin was below its bull market support band and trying to get back above. So ETH is looking very, very strong in my opinion, and it would not surprise me once more if Ethereum makes a brand new all-time high. My target over the past few months has been 5 to 7K. Now, I will likely start taking profits on my Ethereum spot positioning when we surpass $5,000. In terms of my leverage trade, obviously all the updates will be shared in my free premium group, and I'll try to update you on the channel as well. But so far so good. All of our trades are in profits. Now, a lot of people were freaking out after this liquidation event, but as I said, to me, this was always going to mark the reversal for the last leg of this bull market cycle. So things are looking relatively positive here. And ultimately, I don't think that Bitcoin will be revisiting, for example, down to the low of the wick or $98,000 at this point, unless we get a huge rejection. But as I said, if this were to happen, I would be going aggressively long, even more aggressive than you're seeing on the screen right now. So what next? Look, we have some liquidity to the downside, which we covered. It would make sense to go ahead and grab that liquidity, especially considering the fact that on the 1-day time frame, a lot of longs have started to pile into the market. Now, if you've been watching the channel, we entered from much, much lower levels, which ultimately puts us in a very favorable position here to just let the market do its thing. On the 7-day time frame, it paints an even clearer picture of longs starting to pile in to the market. On the left here, 10 billion worth of cumulative long liquidation leverage. On the right here, only around 2 billion worth of cumulative short liquidation leverage, and this would bring us all the way up to just below $128,000 above the current all-time high. However, on the 30-day time frame, we need to consider the fact that there is still technically more cumulative short liquidation leverage in the market compared to cumulative long liquidation leverage in the market. And so we can still easily move higher out of here, although I would be expecting some kind of pullback. We tend to go ahead and fill these CME gaps. It's pretty obvious. I mean, even last week we had a CME gap, which we went ahead and filled quite quickly, and then we ended up moving higher out of there. So if we don't fill the CME gap, it would honestly surprise me. So what I would be saying right now is be a little bit cautious if you're trying to go long here. Now, if you're already positioned from lower, honestly, just sit on your hands and let the market do its thing. So why did we go ahead and confirm a pump higher? This news came out on the weekend. US Treasury Secretary Bessent says China is ready to make a trade deal which would remove President Trump's 100% tariff on China. So this came out. Naturally, the market really likes this kind of news, especially with stocks printing all-time highs on Friday. Meanwhile, crypto was kind of just meh. So maybe it's time for crypto to really play catch up here. The other thing to consider, Trump's playbook. No trade talks with China, market falls. Trade talks with China, market recovers. We have seen this time and time again, all the way back to that massive capitulation that we got earlier in the year, where Bitcoin literally dropped all the way down to $75,000. So these should be seen as opportunities, although we cannot ignore the fact that we are getting quite late into this bull market cycle. I still think we have that one last leg, as I've been referring to. However, I think it's important to start being cautious, because if we do manage to just explode out of here and Bitcoin does finally get that move higher into this region above 128, up to 130 to 140, and we consolidate here, this is where I would be likely trying to exit most of my positions. Although as soon as we hit the new all-time high again, I will offload some of my Bitcoin as well. So keep that in mind. We are getting close to the end of this cycle, although after this event, I was not convinced that this marked the end. Hope that makes sense. I'm still relatively bullish in this market, even though I could be expecting a little bit of a pullback here. And if you're not a scalp trader, I wouldn't recommend going aggressive into shorts quite yet, because I still think that we end up moving higher out of here, even if we go ahead and fill that CME gap. In my opinion, what we're seeing right now is the exact same playbook that we got when Bitcoin was essentially right around these levels over here, which was $108,000, holding on to the bull market support band. I'll remind you, I thought that we were going to move lower out of here before moving higher, and the market really shocked us all. We ended up just making a brand new all-time high. So everyone was expecting lower levels for Bitcoin, but I brought this to your attention quite early. Higher lows in progress, and this is exactly what we continue to see on the daily timeframes. And let's quickly take a look at the weekly close. This was an exceptional candle, all things considered. And so in my opinion, this will likely send us higher, even though I think we get another retest of this bull market support band to really confirm it as support. And that sums up today's quick video. Bitcoin is now back above $115,000, although today we already surpassed 116K. ETH made it above $4,200 as well, as I continue to show you my trades. Now, what is next? Are we going to see us fill that CME gap, hold the bull market support band as support, and then move higher? I personally think so. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.